Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Wicked Curious Radio. I am your mystery maven, Roxie Zwicker from New England Curiosities, here with the amazing Ken and the little tiny Professor Lou Blassie down in the corner.
Yes, I'm here.
Look, he's really that size.
They're not here for me.
Oh,
They're here for you.
Stop it. So we are back from a whole bunch of stuff, and when Ken and I were trying to put together the outline for today's show, we realized one very amazing thing, that this one particular show will not be able to contain
Probably
our
not.
previous adventures
A lot of stuff has gone down.
over the past pretty much 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we will start out with some of, I guess, a little bit of catching up, and one of the freaky deakiest haunted houses that is still freaky deakying me out that we encountered.
You do get the willies.
Yes.
Really, huh?
Oh boy, did
Boy,
we get
you guys
the
are getting the willies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we really
What
did.
chance do the rest of us have?
No good chance. It was way up the country in Maine. We just got back from Moosehead Lane. And go ahead.
Moosehead Lake.
Moosehead Lake, Maine?
Yeah.
Yes. What did I say?
You contracted that. You had
Did I?
Moosehead Lane.
Well, at least I knew what I meant.
There's probably Moosehead Lane up there somewhere.
You know what? I think it's leftovers from Ghost Chronicles Morning Edition.
It's entirely possible.
Something in the air.
Hangover there, yeah.
Yeah, some kind of show hangover. And of course, yesterday was the big day. I was
was-
so nervous yesterday.
And she doesn't get nervous
And
much.
I don't get nervous, but
No, that's only natural.
it elevated my game.
Sure.
It
Well, yeah, this was
it
definitely
elevated my
a step
game.
up, and it was a big deal.
You were orchestrally backed,
Yes.
so that's a big deal.
It was a huge deal. There was a string quartet, a harp the size of this room.
Really, huh?
It was gorgeous, and we also had a flute player, and there were costume changes, and it was in a stunning location.
How many pieces to the orchestra?
I think there was six. yeah.
Six.
Six.
Nice.
So it was a chamber music series
Oh, nice.
that we were doing, and
Harp, flute, 2 violins, viola, and cello.
yes.
And when we talked last time, you didn't have any kind of rehearsal
Nope.
set up, so this was a walk-on.
Just that morning.
We rehearsed for probably about a half an hour yesterday, right before the show.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, so here we go. And also when we walked in, the woman who had put it together, she says, so I'm just wondering if we're going to have enough room for everybody.
Yeah.
Because they pre-sold an awful lot of tickets, and we filled the place up.
Yeah,
I
it was
imagine. Yeah.
a full house.
It was a total full house. But it was absolutely beautiful
So how many
day.
of these do you have booked going forward at this point?
Well, we're going to have to see now.
to be determined, but
Yeah, it's-
definitely.
They're
To be
lining
determined.
they're lining you up, right?
Well, they said we're definitely going to have to do this again. I definitely want to do it again too. I think it really pushed a lot of my own personal boundaries in how I tell stories, and to do it in a different way,
Right.
and to also tell some stories that I don't normally tell. I really try to stick to 17th century seacoast stories, ones that really needed to be fleshed out really well and needed to be told in a very dramatic fashion. So rather than facts and figures and letting the location do the talking, I had to bring people there. So I think that was the challenge, and also to be on pace with the music that was backing me for
Right.
all the pieces that I was doing. So I liked that challenge a lot. But yeah, it definitely elevated my game. But it was
How long
it was
was
great.
the program?
It was we were just over an hour and a half.
Wow.
And we took a 8-minute break, and we interspersed. So they did their pieces, and then I came in between. Although I opened and closed the show. Yeah, it was really amazing. It's so hard to describe.
So you told a story, and then it went to a musical piece, and then
So I started the event.
interesting.
I
What a
did.
great event.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Well, she started with a little ritual first.
And I was really surprised that they were open to allowing me to call in the elemental energy. So
Probably the first time for this little church.
it was, yeah, it was
Little
probably
Harbor Chapel.
It was probably, well, I don't You never
It was probably
know.
a first time.
Well, yeah, okay. Listen to Ken over there. He's like, I'm certain nobody else did that.
That's right. I forgot the church part of this.
Yeah, it's a Little Harbor,
Harbor
Chapel,
Chapel.
in
Yeah.
Portsmouth.
And what's the history of Little Harbor Chapel?
It was built as the temple of the New Jerusalem, the
Okay.
Swedenborgians. Geez, I forget the man's name.
The Swedenborgians?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a type of Christianity. They have certain doctrines. I don't know all about it, but you can look them up, I'm sure. But yeah, this guy had bought a parcel of land. He settled there. He started an artist colony. He's got a farm there. Creek Farm was his, and he built this church.
Right.
And it was kind of non-denominational, open to everybody, just with this,
Right.
kind of theoretical background.
So almost kind of like an early version in Portsmouth in its own right of like the Unitarian Church.
So
Somewhat,
they'd be
yeah.
open to your rituals.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I
They
would.
might have been.
I mean, it wasn't anything terribly frightening, and the church itself is.
You weren't calling Satan or anything like that.
Well, we did talk about Satan yesterday, but I didn't call him in.
Yeah.
But it's the church is out there in just a gorgeous moss-covered rocks, just tree woodland. It's
Yeah,
so
you're-
beautiful,
In the woods of Portsmouth, if you can believe that.
and it's at the back end of the South Cemetery. So the cemetery is through the woods there, and it's just very, very incredible.
It's amazing there.
So, yes, I started with no music and a very long athame and called in all of the directions and energies to support what we were doing, the creativity and the music and the water, and just really try to set the scene. And took a pause after that and then shouted out to everybody, the devil came to the great island in 1682. And people were like, what is she doing? What is that?
Yeah, right out of the ritual and right into the devil.
Yeah, right into the devil. I was set up high, almost like in the pulpit there, so I had a really nice view of everybody. And the church had this beautiful dome up above me, so the music that was being played and the acoustics were just phenomenal. I mean, they like resonated. We had all the windows open, just out into the woods.
Yeah.
So it was just really incredible. And the harpist was next to me, so the harp played for one of the songs. It was a piece from Swan Lake.
Did background.
She did kind of like a watery kind of ebb and flow sound for the stories that I did from the Isles of Shoals, which that in itself was probably the biggest challenge for me in the entire event, because instead of telling the ghost stories again from kind of a factual point of view, I actually had to tell it from the perspective of the ghost, and that was my choice.
That was really cool.
So I told the different kind of theories or thoughts as to who the woman in white might be, but I never exactly stated who I was other than the woman in white. So I
Well-
could have been killed in the double axe murder out there. I could have been killed in one of the shipwrecks out there. I could have been the companion of the pirate Blackbeard out there.
Yeah.
Like, you decide who I am. And trying to go ahead.
Oh, yeah, she dressed up as the woman in white, and she's walking up and down the aisles
Nice.
with the crowd. She's like, who am I? To the people. And
I got right into people's faces.
Very
That was
theatrical.
scary.
I like it.
It was
yeah.
really theatrical.
Yeah, we'll put some pictures up. We got some pictures.
Yeah,
of her
we've
dressed as
got
a woman
we've
in
got a
white.
few pictures. So
Somebody videotape this, I hope.
yes, somebody did
Several
videotape
different
it.
people,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll go ahead and see how all of that looks and see what we can put
Portsmouth Public
together.
Television,
Yeah.
and they did as well.
Yeah, and they did as well.
Yeah.
So it was different in that respect, that I decided, you know what, instead of being up kind of on the stage, which I was for the first half, was to be down with the people and to do things that were very unexpected.
Right, sure.
And I
Love it.
don't know if that's something that the symphony orchestra really does in their shows and performances. I hadn't seen that done before, so I had
Yeah, well, this is a different performance.
Yeah,
That
you
is
brought up
true.
to a whole nother. You
Yeah.
bumped it up a level for sure.
Well, I consulted with one of the producers at a local theater, and I said, how do I really amp up my storytelling? And we were trying to think about what the finale of the show would be, and she says, you just walk right out of the church She says, just go. She says, you don't wait for an applause. You don't tell them that you're done. You just go. And I said, all right, so if I'm going to do that, then I want to be down there amongst the people. And that's kind of how that whole piece came together. So I'd be walking, telling the story, and then I would stop and I got into somebody's face. And Ken was watching. I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't
like
see.
Recoiling. They're like, whoa.
People were like, what is
People gasped, made noises like,
so
cool.
So that was really it was cool. It was so different.
Yeah, so when she finished, she turned and just walked up the aisle and right out the church door. And then I kind of ghostly closed it behind her. I was hiding behind the door.
Closed it in a ghostly manner.
Yes, hiding behind the door so nobody could see me.
Hiding behind the door. But it was great. So we did that. I did the story of Goody Cole of Hampton, did the stone throwing devil of Great Island. And again, those are two great 17th century stories that are just steeped in so much local lore. And they're scary. They're scary. Mm-hmm. So that was, it was quite the, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. It was...
Next year you got to bring lighting and smoke, or next time you
Yes, fog machine.
I would definitely amp it up a little bit more. I did set up an altar with some of my tools that were there, and again, people were probably like, what is all that stuff?
Oh, yeah, your amber skull. And
I brought
some tools of the trade.
I brought some pretty dramatic pieces with me, and again, the athame, the long knife that I had, I'm, just wheeling it around there.
Wow, this sounds like a blast.
It was.
Oh, it was really cool.
Yeah.
It was, and it was really cool. A lot of people I know went to see it, and I mean, within hours after it, because we didn't do like a meet and greet afterwards. Like we just asked them to leave, and we just stayed there. And then I started getting messages from people, and they were like, "That was just amazing, amazing." So. Mm-hmm. We just feel really good about it. We feel that we want to do, more if the opportunity comes up for a different form, of storytelling besides coming out on the tours. So
yeah, there'll be more of that coming.
we will keep you posted if we
Definitely.
do more events
like it, yeah.
this.
Yeah, incredible.
Possibly as early as October, Halloween.
Oh, we don't even want to talk about October right now.
Not adding anything for October.
October's already selling out.
Yeah, we've got so many tours, and I'm so thankful. So many tours in October that are sold out right now.
Already.
Like, done. Like, trolley, we have so few trolley tickets left for the month.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So, I don't know if I can squeeze in another thing for October. I don't think I
Sounds
can
like
do
time for a bigger trolley.
But these are good things though for.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah, I mean these events are good for over the winter though when you can't get out and walk.
Yep.
That's
true.
true.
So theaters and the meeting house, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know when I was speaking to the woman from the theater, she was actually over at the Players Wing, which is, believe it or not, a haunted theater. Shocked, I know everybody's going to be.
Is there anything in Portsmouth that's not haunted?
Not that I know of.
That would be more surprising.
Yeah.
That would be even more surprising. When we sat and when we talked about...
Is there a ghost of Gillies?
Oh, God. I don't want to meet that ghost.
Yeah. Really?
You know,
Definitely don't
I
wanna meet
haven't
that
heard
ghost.
about Gillies. We'll have to look into
The
this.
haunted food cart. Okay. Ken wants to look into it because there's food
Of course,
involved.
yeah.
Of course, I can see a double
Right in his
burger with some
wheelhouse.
bacon.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
Poutine.
Save the story of the poutine.
Oh no, Gillies does poutine.
Well, they do. Yes, they do. So when I met with a woman from the Players Ring, and she heard what I was doing with the symphony orchestra, she said, in February, she says, we actually take proposals for people to come and do things at the theater. And she's like, oh, I could see you. She says, if you put a proposal in, she says, doing something like this at the theater as, as either, she said, either a seasonal show or as often as I wanted. So I'm like, oh, I think I just got a nudge to now bring this around and see what I can do with it.
Lover stories, couple stories, couples hauntings, Valentine's Day.
We did that for one of
yes.
our fly-by nights.
Unlucky in love.
We did Unlucky in Love. And it was all jilted lovers and broken hearts and all the ghosts therein.
Yeah.
So it was really good. It was really good. So we'll see. Maybe something will happen in the future, the Players Ring. So I'll let everybody know.
Stay tuned.
So stay tuned. All right. So do we bring them up to the spooky place? Well, we'll bring them up to the spooky place, but we'll get the food out of the way.
Yeah, we began our drive, our 4-hour drive up to Moosehead Lake.
Which really isn't that bad because we went a little bit of the highway and then we went the rest of the back roads.
Is it 4 hours?
Well, it's
the way we
three
went.
and a
Oh, yeah,
half
okay.
ish,
Yeah.
but
You wandered
we
up.
took the longer
Yeah.
ride. We wandered, and probably took longer than that actually. Have you ever heard of Dysart's, the truck stop?
I don't think so.
It's a northern Maine thing.
Yeah.
And it's just food. It's really a great place to eat.
It's a great description.
Trucks galore, 18-wheel.
Are there multiple locations?
There are several of them.
Okay.
And there's even one that's kind of a diner in Bangor.
One of them's 24 hours.
A couple of them are, I think.
Are they? Okay.
But this is the main one. It's in Herman, Maine, just outside of Bangor, way up there. And that's where we went for lunch on our ride before we got to Moosehead.
Truckers' food. I like it.
But it's not just truckers' food.
It's like seriously.
It's like half the population's there. People come there in
Yeah,
their
I'll bet.
cars and motorcycles. It's a destination up there.
Yeah.
And they're actually quite famous.
And why are they famous?
And why are they famous? So they had hired a marketing company to do a commercial for them several years ago. And they just wanted people kind of, regular customers of Dysart's talking
Real
about
customers.
their visit to Dysart's and what they ordered and how the food was. And there was an elderly couple and they were talking about the pot pie. And they were supposed to describe the qualities of the pot pie. And
Buttery, flaky crust.
yeah, I was just going to say that, the buttery, flaky crust. And every time they did a take, they kept tripping over the
They
words,
flubbed it.
and they could not get it right.
Yeah.
So what they ended up doing was releasing a commercial of all the terrible clips of
The
them.
outtakes.
Yeah.
Of them trying to do the commercial, and even the wife from the husband and wife team, she's like, "Oh, that's not so hard. I can do it." And then when she went to do it, she flubbed it up.
Yeah.
Oops.
So it was actually a pretty big deal. Made the rounds, and then guess who got their hands on it? Was Saturday Night Live,
Oh, God.
and they brought in Will Ferrell, and he did the commercial. A kind of a parody for Saturday Night Live, and
my
it's
God.
absolutely hysterical.
Wow.
You can find it out there. I'll have
So if
to
you
post
just
the links.
Google
for it.
Dysart commercial, it'll come right up. It's hilarious.
It's absolutely hysterical.
And on their website, they give you both. They give you their outtakes and they give you the Saturday Night Live link.
Nice. I like it.
It's funny. It's really funny.
So we had to go there, and so tell us about the pot pie.
I did the pot pie.
Was it buttery and flaky?
Yes, and it was delicious.
Was it a buttery,
So I was
flaky
glad
crust?
I got it. It was a
Buttery,
buttery,
flaky
flaky crust.
Want to see if I could get it out.
Yeah, haven't flubbed that one yet.
No, it's a lot funnier than we're presenting it
I mean,
here.
and
It's
it
one you
came
gotta
with a couple
watch.
of sides
It
and
did.
drink, and the place is large. It's multiple rooms. It's definitely worth a stop in if you're up there to any of the Dysarts. The
was-
food's incredible. What'd you get?
I got the open face turkey sandwich
With stuffing?
with
and
stuffing and mashed potatoes and all that fun stuff.
Diner pricing or a little bit more?
Oh no, It was-
Reasonably
yeah,
priced,
very reasonably
yeah.
priced.
Figure you're up there in Bangor, there's not a lot of money floating
Right.
around. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very reasonably priced.
And it was good because we
Not-
needed a. Go
Not
ahead.
a tourist trap.
No, definitely not a tourist.
And the
trap.
location you went to is where?
Herman, Herman, Maine. Just
Herman, Maine,
Yep.
which I've never heard of. Which
Yeah, HERMON. It's right outside of Bangor.
Okay.
And we needed a nice hearty lunch because our next stop was.
Oh, I was going to just mention one thing,
Oh,
too.
go ahead.
And, of course, every room, they got a big nose of a semi on the wall.
really?
Oh
Do they?
God!
Yeah?
Yep, you'll see it in the commercial, too. And
Like full size, like an actual one?
yeah, the full
Wow.
nose of the truck.
Wow.
I mean, cut down to fit on
Sure.
the wall. But, yeah, full size. So we sat right under one and had
Of
our
course.
meal.
You'd have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Ken went to the bathroom and took a selfie of himself in front of one.
So
Okay, well.
we'll put that up, too.
That's the whole reason why he's telling that
Hey.
is because he wants me to use that picture of him.
You
in
have your
front of the
interests,
truck.
Ken has his.
I know. I know. That's all right.
As long as you both got something out of the trip, that's the idea.
Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're good with Dysart's before I continue
Yeah,
on?
I guess so. That was just go there. It's delicious. You won't regret it. Any of them.
Get the Popeye.
When in the
And
Bangor
get the
area.
buttery, flaky crust pot pie.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so as I was going to say there, we needed a good lunch because we were about to go to one of the most freaky deaky places that we saw on that trip and one that I've seen in a really long time.
But little did we know. I mean, it was a surprise.
It was a huge surprise.
So you didn't aim for this.
Well, she did, yes and no.
I did aim for it, but what I got was not what I expected.
Yeah.
So I did some research before we went up on some haunted places because I knew, we were going to be there for a whole week.
Right.
This was the perfect opportunity to cultivate some stuff in an area that we had never been to. Had quite a varied history up there. Everything from logging to the recreational history that was there. There were some beautiful Victorian stories up there. So this particular place, I had looked up haunted inns, kind of in the counties that we were looking at. And I found that there was this great haunted inn pretty much right on the way up. And I said, you know what, let's stop. We'll check it out.
It's
maybe
right on
talk
the
to
way.
the people that are there. And I went to a website that gave me all sorts of information, talked about if you want to come and stay, make
book
a
a room.
reservation. And I'm like, oh, this is great. It had rates, every bit of information you could possibly want. And it even had some information about the history and the haunting. So I'm like, okay, great. Had the complete picture of it. We pull into town. We were in Guilford, Maine. And just as we pull into town, there's a big sign, and it lists the Trevor Mansion Inn. Take a right, and it's right up the road. So we went up the road around the block, and again, the sign was in great shape. We go down the road and around the block, and I'm looking, and I'm like, shouldn't it be up here? So I get onto my GPS.
We're looking at woods.
We're looking at the woods. Again, a lot of woods up there.
Sure.
And
But we're in a neighborhood and there's woods right there. Mm-hmm.
And I'm on my GPS and I'm like, all right, I know it's here. I saw it. I don't see a house that looks like it. I mean, it's a beautiful Victorian era home, very, very distinctive. And we drove around the block again and I'm like, I think that's it in there.
We saw a little sign.
We saw a little sign in some overgrown bushes, and then there was an even older sign that showed that there was a curve in the road. It was a highway sign, and this sign was like totally black, all grown in, and I'm like, all right. So I pulled to the end of the driveway, and I'm like, oh, this can't be the way in, because the driveway was completely overgrown.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're not going to want people to drive in this way to the inn. Like, this must be, and I think I said it was like the utility or delivery entrance.
Yeah, you would think like the back way in.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, let's keep driving. So we drove around the block again and spotted another sign for the inn. And I looked and I'm like, that's no road I'm going to drive on. The road was totally washed out and gone.
You needed a Jeep to get in.
It was it was lumpy, like my car just would not have liked it at all.
No.
So I said to Ken, I'm like, well, if it's in there, like, do they want you to come to it? Like, I can't even imagine driving over the lumps there.
Right.
Looking way in, you could see a house.
You could just barely see the house.
Because it was so overgrown.
You could see the roof of the house. So I said, all right. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I says, I don't care. I said, the website said they're open. I says, they must be in there somewhere.
Yep.
Drove right back to ye olde servants' entrance there where the sign was in the bushes. And I said, you know what? I says, Ken, if you want to sit here, I says, I'm going to go and check it out. Ken decided that he wasn't going to let me go and check it out by myself, which was totally fine.
He's like, if you don't see me in an hour, send in a rescue team.
Well, that's what I told him. I says, if I don't come back, I mean, I'm walking into the weeds here.
Yeah.
and still, the house is not right there. So I get out, and the first thing I saw was this huge garage, and we've got pictures of everything. And there were no doors in the garage, and you could see inside the second floor where they had a lot of stuff that was stored, the floor had collapsed, and all of the goods that were in the garage were just spilling out all over the place.
Wow.
As we were walking, there was trash everywhere. There was an old rusty barrel there. We came across a little cottage building and took a look at the fire escape outside the building. And, I wouldn't put a squirrel on that fire escape. And there were giant wasps' nests everywhere. And I'm walking and I'm looking around and there's no sign of life.
Right.
There's no car. There's nobody.
Really?
Nothing in the windows.
And I'm the whole time I'm saying to Ken, I'm like,
You think you've driven into a movie?
I did.
Yes,
oh my God,
we're
totally.
Like, we're being set up here. We're about to get eaten by something.
Oh yeah. I'm like, somebody's gonna come running
Discovery
out.
Channel show or something.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, the last known whereabouts of Roxie from England Curiosities was right here on this road. But the whole time I'm saying to Ken, I'm like, Ken, I could have booked a room here. The website is up. They're on TripAdvisor.
The signs are out in the street.
The signs are out in the street. I'm like,
Right.
how is this even possible? So we walk up and go around the corner.
And it's all overgrown. The lawns,
it's
chest
wild.
high and
Wild. And we walk up, and finally we find the front of the house. And there was this great big pear tree in front of the house, had fully grown pears on it. It was like just eerie. So we're standing there and we're looking, and I'm like, Ken, is there anybody in there? And he's like, I think there's a note on the door. And there's just trash everywhere, stuff everywhere.
Yeah, all the note on the door said was, welcome guests, come on in and ring the bell.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. So we looked, and you could see there was still, some sort of stuff in the house. Through the bushes.
But it was in piles.
It was, it was in the but we couldn't tell right away. We could just see there was stuff in there. So through the bushes on the other side, we noticed there was another house over there and another property, and the people were just coming home. So I looked over to them, and they were looking at us. They didn't say anything, and Ken's poking around, and I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to go ask them. I said, what's going on? So I walked over, and I yelled over to the fence at these folks, and I'm like, so are they open? And she's like, oh, no, they're closed. And I'm like, but the website says they're open, and they're taking room reservations. I said, what happened here? She says, oh, no. She says, they've been closed for a while. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow.
And she says, the guy that ran the inn, she says, he died. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, well, don't worry about it. She says, they took everything out of there. She says, they stripped the place. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's all very interesting.
Yeah. So who took my reservation?
I know,
right.
who took my money? So I told Ken to get close and to try and see what he could see through the windows, because now I'm like really spooked
that's Ken's
out.
job.
Yes, to go there and have the house cave
Go
in
poke
on
your face in the ghosts.
Yeah.
If you remember, though, I went first.
Yeah, that's true.
And I told Ken to sit in the car. So this could have just been all me. But since he was there, why not use the services?
Absolutely.
You know? So Ken's in the windows, and he's taking pictures, and,
There's piles of trash.
I'm looking, and there's just piles of junk. And I was like, something strange is afoot here. Didn't even feel right. The energy there was just erratic, borderline creepy. And it's, mind you, sun was shining. It's probably 2:00 in the afternoon.
Creepy on your scale.
Oh,
which,
totally
again,
creepy on my scale.
Yeah.
So I will tell you in just a minute, after we take the break, what the big story was there, who the ghosts are,
when the tease was coming,
and what happened next. So you are listening to Wicked Curious, and we will be right back.
For the best in curious entertainment, you have to check out New England Curiosities, located in the historic city of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. New England Curiosities offers tales and tours of folklore, ghosts, and mysterious history, with author and historian Roxie Zwicker, New Hampshire's longest-running and original ghost tour. Roxie has been entertaining the locals, visitors from away, and curious souls since 1994. New England Curiosities has been offering tours and special haunted events since 2002. Highly respected and thoroughly entertaining. You'll be talking about your experience for months to come. Discover why New England Curiosities is consistently on top of travel and tourism lists. Yankee Magazine calls the Shadows and Stones Graveyard Tour one of New England's top 5 cemetery tours. The Boston Globe says an experience with New England Curiosities is one of the 3 best alternatives to visiting Salem, Massachusetts. From scenic trolley rides to walking tours and speaking engagements, there's something for everyone. So join New England Curiosities and experience why they are consistently featured in the media, including television appearances on the History Channel and the Travel Channel. Check out the latest legendary tours and events from New England Curiosities at newenglandcuriosities.com. And be sure to like New England Curiosities on Facebook.
Welcome back to Wicked Curious Radio. I am Roxie Zwicker. You're finding us on the net, also on New England Talks, netalks.net, 102.9 FM HD2, also on Facebook Live. Feel free to put your comments and questions right in the little question box there on Facebook Live. And our number here at the studio is 978-659-0072. Oh, spooky places. This was it. This place took the cake. So I want to read you the description that I had read on the website before we strolled on up to this creepy place. Visit this unique and mysterious mansion on the National Historic Register, 26 miles north of I-95 and 26 miles south of Moosehead Lake. DSL and Wi-Fi, internet, outstanding beds and linens, privacy and peace and quiet await you.
Sounds great.
Sounds like a grave. And that's what basically this place was. I mean, dear God. This is a stunning, like I said, early Victorian mansion. It was built over the period of 2 years in 1830. And it is really a place that is, if you saw it in its heyday, obviously, it was quite stunning. It's up on top of a hill. It overlooks the Piscataquis River. Easy for me to say. There's an old textile mill.
It's different from Piscataqua, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I go to Piscataqua. This is Piscataquis.
Yep.
So,
And you could tell it was like a really nice building in its day.
oh, it really was quite amazing. It was actually owned by a United States senator at one time, and the main structure was just so old world. It actually did not have electricity until 1976.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow.
It has a lot of amazing artwork and Victorian stencils by notable architects and designers from back in the day. Really just, again, a building that when you saw it, you knew a lot of care, effort, and love had gone into it. Far different from what we had seen that day when we rolled up on it. Mm-hmm. So not what I was expecting initially. So I had originally had some ghost stories about the building, which was the main reason why we were there. And they got even stranger afterwards. So initially they had been investigated by some of the main paranormal teams up there. They had gone up and done some investigations where they did videos and made contact with the spirits that were there. The central haunted room were the front rooms of the mansion is what they had basically made the declaration, and they put out trigger devices and got EVP and strange photos, and I will post links to all of that in just a second so everybody can go and check all of that out. So that was the premise that I initially had been going on as, okay, great, you know, it's been investigated, there's some stories that are out there. If they're open to it, they're going to want to talk about it. So I'm like, great, you know, maybe we can get some even more information about it. Well, I decided that, you know, once we saw all of this going on there, or not going on, shall we say, that we needed to look into what had really happened. And one of the things we immediately found was that there was this mysterious fire that had happened in 2004. Now, at the time, they were already claiming the building had been haunted. This fire, which basically had gutted the house, was one that when they came to investigate, the fire marshal could not come up with a reason as to how the fire started. So when you look at the records, they could not determine what had happened.
Yeah.
So come to find out, the owner of the house decided to get in touch with Lauren Coleman, who's the big cryptozoologist from Portland. He's into all sorts of other aspects of the paranormal, you know, majorly like demons and things like that. So he went up to this mansion to check out what had happened, and he believed that it was an actual German fire demon that had set fire to the house, that the house had actually been cursed. This was the first that I think either of us have ever heard of, you know, a house burning down because of a fire demon, let alone, you know, a German fire demon. But
you can pull a contract with a German fire demon?
I guess so. I don't know what attracts one.
I'm not sure how that happens. But the fire was so big, it took 80 fire departments to put it out.
Wow.
The interior was completely gutted, but the shell of the house was there. So with that, you might think, well, you know what? That's it. We're done. We're out. Particularly if there's a fire demon in the house.
Yeah.
So you're for me.
It's going to lower the house value.
I was going to say you know you might want to stop and think about should we continue to live here? But here's a strange thing. So people got out. Robert Schaefer was the owner and the last owner of the building. And he made the decision, you know what? We're going to rebuild.
Damn that fire demon.
Yeah.
That's right. Fire demon.
In your
be
face,
dead.
fire demon.
I dare you.
So he went to such great lengths to rebuild. It continues to get even stranger. So all of the architectural details, I'm sure, as you can imagine, were just in shambles. So what did he do? He gets in touch with HGTV, Home and Garden Television. He gets in touch with the Historical Society of Maine, and they come in and they rebuild the entire interior of the mansion. HGTV did a television show on the mansion,
Wow.
on
So it's
bringing
out
it
there.
back from the ashes. So now you have all this time and effort that have been put back into the mansion to bring it back. And, you know, when I look at that, I have to say I appreciate his love of the mansion and, you know, what it meant to him. When you read the website, which I'll post it right now so you can find it, you'll be able to discover, you know, his absolute love for the architecture and him being the caretaker of this place. And that's what makes the rest of the story so much stranger.
Oh, so you just want to add too?
Sure
that
thing.
even on the walkway to the front of the house after, there's a mosaic of a phoenix, so rising from the ashes.
Oh,
Of course,
absolutely.
yeah.
And it was in countless newspapers. And if you go to the link that I just posted and click over to the fire page, you can actually see photographs of the fire with all the furnishings in the house. You know, this was a winter fire, so it's encrusted with icicles and, you know, all the black char. I mean, it's really something else. But they had to custom make a lot of the woodwork in there to bring it back, the windows, and of course, immediately they said, what we're going to do is as soon as we get it fixed up, we're going to reopen it again and we'll be back in business.
So they went to great lengths for this.
Yeah.
So they went to huge lengths, and again, so much so that it actually made national attention. Folks from the Historical Society helped to restore a beautiful series of stencils by a famous man named Moses Eaton, who was known for that. So again, more love and care went into this building. And guess what? It reopened. It was back in business for a number of years. Now, this gentleman, Robert Schaefer, was a self-proclaimed eccentric. He had, I guess, a very strange way of looking at himself and looking at life. And when I read his, I guess, shall I say, biography,
Yep.
I said, you know, I need to share this with people. So I'm just going to read a little bit of his biography, and then I'll tell you the strange things that happened since. As to their background, the timid need not inquire, and the bold will not need to be told. But let it suffice to say that various family members have sought high political office, have been imprisoned by nefarious foreign governments, met everyone from Catholic cardinals, grand rabbis, and Sufi sheiks to confidants of Adolf Hitler. They have been guests in homes of the heads of state, broken bread with communist revolutionaries, reformed and unreformed, and have lived everywhere from monasteries and mansions to down and out on the streets of Rome and the Big Apple. And we look forward to meeting you. That's what it says about your eccentric host.
So that's a heck of a biography.
So that is, I mean,
Really?
don't you want to go and just meet
Yeah.
these people, let alone see this amazing place? So I looked at the website and I was trying to figure out what had happened. I went onto their Facebook page, which was still there as well for the Trepper Mansion Inn, and it just seemed like everything stopped all of a sudden. And it really wasn't that long ago. When I was looking at the reviews on TripAdvisor, they were actually from last year. And the first thing I said to Ken is, I'm like, how could all of this happen, you know, in less than a span of a year? Mm-hmm. So digging with a little bit of Wi-Fi that we had up in the woods, we actually discovered that the eccentric host died suddenly in the house of a heart condition last November.
Yeah, not even a year.
Not even a year ago.
Wow.
So he had, I guess,
Spontaneously combust? Fire demon come back?
I don't know. The fire demon must have come back.
I think it was like heart failure.
It was heart failure in the parlor of the house. So he had recently adopted a child, and there was a variety of people that were living in the mansion with him. So the funeral and I guess the whole obituary was quite far flung and fancy and over the top. I mean, you know,
much like the biography.
I was going to say, much like you just heard me read the biography. Would you expect any less? And the wishes were at that point was to scatter his ashes around the inn. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a minute.
We just walked through there.
We just walked through his ashes out in front of the inn.
Didn't even know it.
So next thing you know, whatever was left in there of any kind of value. Now, again, keep in mind, this had just been restored fully to its potential just a few years previous. Anything of value was taken out, and it was left to rot.
Wow.
And it's up there on the hill, rotting and overgrowing and full of trash. We took a lot of pictures. There was no trespassing signs to be found.
Nothing.
So we would not have trespassed if there were. Again, I thought
Well, they didn't take the reservation system down, so I'm
No, they
guessing they're not
didn't.
taking a lot of care in the...
It was just, I don't know what do you call it. It was just ghosted. they just walked away from it.
It
You know, no
truly
pun
was
intended.
just ghosted. So if you take a look, like I said, at the website that I just posted, you would not know that, you know, you're going to a place that was recently abandoned.
Right.
And I'm also going to post right here so you guys can check it out after the show if you want. The episode, it's about an hour long, of the ghost investigation that took place at the mansion as well, so you can see it from both sides.
I see the website has a mansion TV with the HGTV.
Trevor TV.
Yeah, we got to get an episode of that. We got to get our episode up here.
We do.
Think the webmasters are still working for them?
I don't know.
It's all up there like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Yep. And, you know, I said to myself, what would, if this guy himself, never mind the ghost that was there, what if this guy, now that who's had his ashes put there, what would he say if he saw what happened to his beloved place?
Be heartbreaking.
I wonder if he's there. You know?
I can only wonder if he's there. You know, we didn't have an experience, but honestly, we probably weren't there for more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it was. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, Ken, but I was definitely creeped out.
Yeah, it was
quite a
definitely
bit.
like, this is kind of creepy. Maybe we should go.
Yeah, there was no sign that said closed. It's like, come on in.
Try to focus that in a little bit. Creepiness, I mean, that's a general term.
I know.
What? Yeah, try to focus that in. What were you feeling?
Okay, there was a weird vibe there.
There was a weird vibe.
From the moment we walked in, not after we discovered things. Was
No, well, we didn't know anything until, you know, a couple of days later when, like I said, I managed to do some research on it.
By the way, did you get your reservation back? Get your money back?
I didn't make a reservation there.
Oh, okay.
But I figured since they were open and taking reservations, we could stop in and talk to them.
Yeah.
We actually we stayed up at Moosehead Lake. There's a whole other story up there. Because where we stayed was haunted too, but we didn't know that. But I guess in trying to define creepy, I was first put off immediately, thinking this was going to be this beautiful place, and nature had taken over pretty quickly, and that there was a sign on the door that's like, welcome, you know, come on in, and I'm like, who the hell is going in this place? So right away I'm like, you know, is this like some sort of trap? Like, what is this? Why wouldn't you put a sign to say keep out?
All right, so did you feel in danger?
I didn't feel in danger, but I was looking over my shoulder.
It felt weird, like
It felt really strange. And,
Paranoia?
well, maybe a little bit of that. I mean,
if there
definitely.
if
There was
there are
definitely-
people around, are you being paranoid?
Yeah.
Or are there things around? If there are things around.
Well, and I think part of it was just a basic safety. I mean, the building was crumbling. The garage was just spilled out into the driveway.
broken glass.
I
and
mean, there was,
things,
all sorts of just crap everywhere that was, dangerous to walk on. You know, who knows what you're going to step on there. And then the neighbors were just kind of nonchalant.
Okay, whatever.
I mean, I was telling...
Living next door to Fire Demon, you'd think they'd be a little bit more involved.
I'd be more concerned.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right away I was telling Ken, I'm like, Stephen King needs to, this is where the stories come from. Here are the neighbors, and they're sitting out on the deck, and they're just watching us walk around this freaky-deaky place, and they're like, yep, they cleaned the place out. So I think that was part of the feeling that I had. But, I think I felt sad because I'm like, who would let this happen? Then I'm like, how could this place not be haunted? I mean, right away, I was like, okay, so I could I knew the fire demon story before we went up. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is the perfect domain for something to go wrong, and it looks like it had. So I think that's what scared me, too. I didn't know if somebody had been murdered or what had happened. Yeah. So your thoughts trying to piece together what had happened there, I think maybe more on edge, but the energy as far as an energetic level just felt low. It didn't feel like a place that you'd want to be very long. It was just very... all I can say is like a low vibration. You walk into a place and you're like...
Spiritually abandoned?
Yeah. It's like, somebody just had an argument in a room and you walk in and you're like, oh, it doesn't feel good in here. Like, open a window, turn on a light, that type of thing. Like, something needed to be infused back into the space there. I don't know. What did you... Yeah,
it was kind of a claustrophobic feel, I guess. But I don't know if that was the overgrowth and everything, but it was just like almost suffocating. You walk up to the house and you're like, should I be doing this?
Yeah.
Something's going to fall on me.
Well, it definitely looked like something was going to fall.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to separate the practical...
Yeah, from the spiritual.
The practical fears of being on a deteriorated site.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't concerned for my physical safety as such. I mean, I wasn't, going to walk under the big pile of boxes or anything.
Right.
So I mean, I wasn't really concerned for my safety.
Physical safety.
Yeah, for my physical. It just felt weird.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, the first thing
Would you call this site isolated? I mean, obviously that was off the road and it was abandoned, so it had an isolation element to it. But were you? And there were neighbors. What, next door? Could you see the house next door?
You could see the house next door through the trees and through the brush.
That was the only close neighbor they had.
Yeah,
because they were on a corner and it was a field, but now it's wooded.
Well, and there's a big drop off behind the mansion because it's up on the hill, and there was nothing there. So it was just the neighbors on the other side. And I mean, truth be told, I thought they were kind of strange too. Because they were just like, there's nothing in there. They stripped the place out. And I'm like, that's not why we're here. We're here because...
There's a fire demon behind him telling him, get rid of these people.
They were being commanded.
Maybe they were the fire demons.
Yeah. Maybe they were the fire demons.
Maybe they weren't really there.
Yeah.
I think it was just, trying to piece together. Because to me, I was like... Either somebody left in a hurry or something really bad happened here.
I guess it was a sad feel there.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that I was like, it didn't make any sense to me.
So there was a sense of tragedy just hovering around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So
sounds
now,
like 3 or 4 different incidents of tragedy just accumulating.
Culminating with his death.
Yeah.
And I don't know, how did that happen on so many levels? Like Ken and I have been trying to piece it together. Here you had, the Historical Society out there and HGTV out there, and this was a known place to people.
Yep.
And then how did this just happen? I mean, obviously the guy died. I don't know, whoever was in the family or friends or whatever, it wasn't an orderly clean out.
Yeah, they just took the stuff and ran, I guess. It's not
like they
sale.
Just sifted through the stuff, took what they wanted, and left the trash.
Oh, did they clean it out, or was it just abandoned and it got cleaned out?
Well, I guess the neighbors weren't terribly specific.
I'm assuming it was them. I'm not specifically sure, but I mean...
Because that had to be a sizable asset to just walk away from.
Right.
I'm led to believe that because the doors are padlocked. So someone would have had to lock it behind them after they went out of the house.
So, I don't know how... Nobody's put up a sign. Nobody's taken down the website. Like there's so many unanswered questions for me now that I don't even know what to make of it.
Yeah, not what you expect. You'd think, okay, the family would take the signs down, take the website down, and all that, and it's just as it was.
They had this huge, grand reopening for it, which was such a big deal when they were completely restored and brought people in, and it looked great. I mean, there were some amazing architectural details that they had brought back. from this burned out hole. And, I don't know. It's just, none of it makes sense. Take away the information now if it's no longer there. Let us know what happened. Do something with the building. I mean, I'm just, I feel like, I'm back in the pulpit again, and I'm like, I got to talk to somebody about this. Like, what's the deal?
So there's, the mystery of what happened.
So, of course, now I'm thinking in its condition that it's in with everything that's there, it's probably prone to burn down again.
Well, the town's going to be on top of this, don't they? First of all, you get a hazard out there. Secondly, there's a chance they could take over the property. And third, someone's going to burn the thing down again. And then you got to deal with it. And the first fire seemed to be a big deal.
It was a huge deal. And then the other piece.
So they must have contacted family members or something. The town must be doing something about this.
The town hasn't taken the signs off the road either.
No,
so.
And they're huge signs.
Little Maine towns, who knows?
Oh yeah, you don't know. Could be a whole number of reasons we don't know, but there was nothing that was evident to us while we were up
Go
there.
down to the lobster shack and ask Bob to do something about this. Mayor Bob, or whatever's going on.
Maybe Bob was busy that day.
Yep.
It's at the truck stop having flaky, buttery, crusty pot pie. Who knows?
Probably onto something there.
Yeah, it could be completely onto something there.
Yeah.
But the other thing I think that really spooked me out was, so he died last November. It hasn't even been a year, and the place looks like it's been abandoned for 25 years.
I was surprised that in 9 months something could be that far gone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, it was just November, and here it is August.
Oh, so it's a rapid decline.
There's an aggressive deterioration here.
Very aggressive. Yeah. I mean, it's falling apart. After, and again, I have to put in, HGTV was there, and it was such a big deal. The place was brought back to its splendor, and now it looks just as bad as it did before.
Collapse? How does it have a floor collapse? I assume they renovated the garage.
The sides wide open, the doors were gone.
Oh yeah, I mean that you could see all sorts of personal objects and clothing and property just splayed out there, just laying there.
Pile.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know. I think that I always have
spirit world reclaiming.
Nature's reclaiming. That's for sure.
It looks like it's been abandoned for years, and it's only been months.
Yeah.
So it's just, I found that strange.
Yeah, I found that strange too. And the big rusty barrel out there in the middle of the driveway. I mean, it was just every corner you looked, you're like, something's going to pop out at me. Like, something's going to come out of that barrel. Someone's going to come out of the garage. Like, somebody's going to jump out at me.
You're right. We're only talking, 10 months?
Yeah.
8, 10 months?
Mm-hmm.
So, buildings don't deteriorate that quickly.
The middle of November, and here it is the middle of August.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a full year yet. So I think...
I mean, you might get some vandalism and, kids and stuff, but the overgrowth...
But I think that's the thing. It didn't look vandalized.
Yeah.
If it did, if we saw, spray paint and broken windows, that would have been one thing, but we didn't.
Right.
It was just like, the March of Time just came in there, and it's throwing all the stuff out of the house.
Deterioration, yeah.
Yeah, it was, there were still flags hanging up on the house. I mean, it was just weird, eerie weird. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
So when are you going back?
Well, we had thought about going back again on our way out when we left. However, we decided that we were going to spend an extra day. So in spending that extra day, I actually came back on a day that I had to do some tours. So it didn't leave any time.
So you ran out of time
to do that. And that always happens. We always run out of time.
So you had the thought, better prepared and a little bit more under your belt, you had the thought of going back.
I definitely did. And I think I probably wouldn't have been as nervous this time around now that I knew the rest of the story. Although
Did you ask around town? Anybody around town? Because there must be stories about this place.
The only people that I asked were the people that I saw were the neighbors that were over there. I didn't see the Historical Society open or anything like that. And I spent a really long time researching what I could online, and I couldn't come up with anything either, unfortunately. So I don't know. I have a feeling though that I'm probably going to hear about this place one day in the future in the news. Like it's a place where it's not going to go quietly. Like something's going to happen.
I'd call the city clerk, somebody in the city.
Yes.
They're the ones who are on top of it.
What they know, Historical Society as well.
Yeah.
And his ashes are there.
But I know they're all over the ground. So we walked through there. We didn't even know until after the fact.
That was his wishes, was to be with the mansion. And I'm like, now look at it. Like, if that's a reason to come back from the dead, I mean, right there, you've got it.
Well, obviously he had a attachment, a bond with the building.
Definitely.
All the effort he put into it.
Oh, I have no doubt. And now just, his ashes are mingling with the trash.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's like
and-
dump it and go. It's just really not what you'd think about,
no.
for his legacy.
Yeah.
No, and I don't think anything that anybody would ever want.
So that's what we're trying to make sense of.
So-
It's 2000. He died in November, so it's 2017, 2018. No one in the estate, no one in the family, decides. Let's just put a for sale sign. Call a real estate agent for crying out loud.
Exactly what I'm
You
saying.
don't even have to be there. Just
And
go get whatever you can get for this.
and that's part of what is the mystery of this place to us. That
Yeah.
somebody had even.
And it wasn't a case of I'm not going back to that place because they went back and cleaned it out.
That's right.
They weren't particularly afraid of the place or anything.
No.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. Why wouldn't you shut the website off, take the signs down, post no trespassing, and call a real estate agent?
All the things you would think would normally happen.
Yep.
I can't explain it. This was a huge mystery. It turned out to be not what we expected, but then again, a lot more than what we expected. The typical us,
Everything,
of course.
everything indicates that they're
I
still
don't
in
think you're
business.
done with it either.
No,
Doesn't sound like you guys are done with
no,
it.
I think we'll be going back to.
No, well, maybe at some point. Probably won't be anytime soon,
no,
unfortunately.
maybe next summer.
Yeah.
Maybe next summer, but this is one that I'm definitely going to be adding on now to the list of talks that I do when I'm talking about, haunted Maine or haunted northern New England. Because, I mean, first of all, Fire Demon, that's a whole nother show right there.
Exactly.
And then, the ghost stories about it.
And it was
now the
cursed
sky.
by who? Who called the fire demon?
Yeah,
What the hell's going on there?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah, I don't know.
What is a fire demon level offense?
Well, it's a
Botched a reservation? What's going on?
but apparently there's a distinction because it's a German fire demon.
Oh, yeah. There's that, too.
It's not, I don't know. There's a difference.
They
between,
work cheaper or something. I don't know.
I don't know. And an American fire demon versus a German fire demon. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just, and that's why when we said, we couldn't do this all in one show because
Have any
we
of
really.
the main groups taken a whack at this thing since the death? I mean, again, we're talking less than a
I
year.
haven't heard anything
I
about them being
haven't,
bad.
nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, and I looked and looked and looked, and I haven't found a single thing as far as what's happened.
And you'd think somewhere along the line, a developer or somebody would look at this place and go, "Let's see if let's see if they'll take $5,000 for it." And, I mean, it's all none of it adds up.
It doesn't. Even if you didn't want the house, the land there, once you clear it
It's a nice piece of land.
from all
Ashes and fire demons.
yeah, then it should be fine. So I don't know. Check it out. I posted the links. We'll post some pictures so you can see what it really looks like. So when you look at the links, you'll be like, "Wow, it's a beautiful place." Doesn't look anything like that anymore.
Yeah.
It's
But that
it's
happened,
totally different.
and then hands off. The town hasn't touched it. The ghost groups haven't come back with a
No.
concern. It's
No.
strange.
It is strange.
So
I find it weird.
If I'm a
Yeah.
neighbor and I'm watching that house next door deteriorate, I'm getting the town involved.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
at least you get that fire demon out of there. So to be
Is there a
determined.
fire demon registry service?
Maybe there is. I didn't think to look that
Neighbors
up.
ought to know if there's a fire demon.
Could
living.
at least trap it and tag it, right?
But if we find out anything more about it, and I'll try to follow the history of it as to what might be happening here in the future, I'll definitely follow up with
To be continued.
yeah, with what I find out, because I really want to find out more now. And something's going to happen. I just got a sense about it. Something's waiting in the shadows up there.
What do people need to know about New England Curiosities and what's coming up? And
I know. Here we go again. It's October. It's coming. It's right around the corner. We're right at the end of August.
So make reservations quick.
Make reservations. Please don't wait. You can find us at NewEnglandCuriosities.com. Our schedule is up there. There's a whole bunch of appearances that I'll be making at various places, doing all sorts of events. So you definitely want to check out that. Those are usually free events. So if you go over to that section, you can find out a little bit more about where you can go and hear about what's going on in your town as well. I'll be doing Spirit Quest at the end of September with Ron for the New England Ghost Project.
You'll be there on the 30th?
Yeah, I'll be there on Sunday the 30th, and there's like a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Like I don't even know where I am half the time because there's so many things happening. But you can definitely check out our Facebook page. I have a lot of events on there. I'll probably pop in a couple of more. So I can't believe I just said that, but I'm going to do it because I don't like to have any free time whatsoever. There's some really cool classes coming up as well.
NewEnglandCuriosities.com, and the Facebook page is quite active too, I know, because I get all the notifications now.
Excellent.
Yes, it is.
I know you guys are banging on the Facebook page too.
Yeah, we're doing well.
Yeah, we're really flying, and we greatly appreciate everybody who's tuned into what we do and comes to our events. It's been really, really, really cool. We've had some really great experiences over the past couple of weeks, which we didn't even have time to talk about today. So
more to come.
You'll
I'm
just
sorry,
have to
I may
continue
missed
to
it.
listen.
You're going to post video of the performance that you just did.
As soon as I can get it downloaded and set up, I'll post some pictures though, so you guys will get an opportunity to see it from yesterday, which is really cool. I'll see what I can do. I got to go look at some footage after the show today, so we'll see what comes up.
Excellent. So Facebook page and website, or
Facebook page probably first, website probably second. So more to come, as always.
excellent.
And with that, we are just about out of time.
Are we already?
We are.
Wow.
It just flies by like the shadow of the ghost on the moon. I am Roxie Zwicker.
The flash of the fire demon.
You're your mystery maven amongst ghosts and fire demons and Lou and Ken.
Yep.
We thank you for listening, and as always, stay wicked curious.
First to take